So Google just released the Pixel 6 for $599 and the Pixel 6 Pro for $899, and these phones are turning heads. The new design has a camera bar across the back of the phone that splits it into two, similar to the Pixel 2, and I like that aesthetic. As far as colors, it comes in Stormy Black, which is more gray, that's the one I have here, sort of seafoam, and kind of coral, which all look great. Both the 6 and the 6 Pro phones have great screens and cameras, but the Pro comes with an extra telephoto camera and a higher resolution screen that also has a higher refresh rate. But in my opinion, most people will be super happy with the standard Pixel 6 and should probably save that $300. So I have the Pixel 6 and the screen quality on this model is great. Unlike prior Pixels, the screen has excellent resolution and no weird color shift. This model comes with a 90 Hz adaptive refresh rate, so if you're coming from an older iPhone or an older Android phone, you'll really enjoy the smoother scrolling and animations. Colors are vibrant. The resolution of the screen is also impressive. It's a 1080 by 2400 panel. It looks nice and sharp, and I really have not been disappointed with the way that photos and video look on here. Brightness is also decent at 500 nits, bumping up to 800 nits when displaying HDR content, but it doesn't really compare to what Apple's doing currently. However, I can forgive it. But one of the things that's kind of hard to forgive is the under-screen fingerprint reader. If you're coming from an iPhone, say goodbye to Face ID, but hello to a slowish fingerprint scanner that works even if you're wearing a mask. I know some people have had issues with the battery life, but I can say with moderate to heavy use and set to adaptive mode, I can run this phone for almost 2 days without charging, which is actually great even if you're coming from an iPhone. So let's say you are coming from an iPhone and you have a MagSafe charger. Well, good news, it'll work. So will most wireless chargers. Also, one thing to note, MagSafe kind of works, but the magnets aren't strong enough to hold in place very well. The changes that have been made since I've used an Android phone are absolutely incredible. Design-wise, everything is colorful, navigation is easy, and notifications are handled better than iOS in my opinion. Google has added some cool features to the Pixel 6 as well. You can double tap the back of the phone and have it do several things like take a screenshot. You can double tap the power button to open up the camera and do a quick little double twist of the wrist to put it into selfie mode. Along with that, you can also set the phone to when you put it upside down on a tabletop, it'll silence all of your notifications. There's also a beta feature for themed icons like I have here, but it only really works for Google apps at the moment. And I'm excited for other apps to start supporting this. One of my favorite features with this phone has to be the always-on display. Also, at a glance is super useful to give you time-sensitive notifications and anything that you might have coming up. Coming from iOS has been a bit of a learning curve when you first start using Android 12, so expect the first week or two to be a little frustrating as you learn how to do things in Android, but I promise everything you need is there. And once you figure it out, it's actually possibly a little bit more enjoyable than using iOS, which I hate to say. However, one thing to think about is actual text messaging. Android still primarily uses SMS, and you can run into some problems when messaging other iOS users. There's no real way to react to texts, and sending videos to other phones feels a little primitive, especially receiving videos when you get them in a really bad quality and resolution. With that said, if you don't really use iMessage to its full potential, you probably won't notice a difference. However, on the flip side, messaging with other Android users that are using the messaging app is actually really nice. You can react to their text messages in the same way that you can in iOS. Most iOS apps that you use are available through the Google Play Store for Android. I've only come across a couple smaller apps like MusicBed and Frame.io that don't have an Android version, but I highly doubt the more popular apps that you use are not supported. One of my favorite things about Android 12 is the fact that you can actually arrange your home screen in whatever way you want. Unlike iOS, where you have to start at the top and they kind of trickle toward the bottom, with Android 12, you could put them wherever you want. I have my home screen set up like this, just to be super personal. And also widgets you can resize to whatever size you want. And that's actually very much appreciated coming from an Apple phone. So one of my favorite things about the Pixel 6 is that the software learns your habits and makes using it better and better with time. You'll get better suggestions for texts and for searches, and even more relevant information for the at a glance feature. And with Google Now, you can kind of personalize all of the news and different articles that you get. And that's very nice that it's actually built into the Pixel 6. Android 12 is truly smart. Google Assistant can even screen spam calls and wait on hold for you. Speech to text with the Pixel 6 is also incredible. It's probably the best speech to text I've ever used, and that's thanks to Google's Tensor chip. The Pixel 6 really is the smartest phone out right now. The main 50 megapixel camera is the best smartphone camera I've ever used. The photos are super sharp and the colors look great. The camera interface is really nice too. You can adjust several settings before shooting a photo, like white balance, exposure, and contrast. The larger sensors also help a little bit with depth of field, but I do think that Google is doing some sort of AI blur to kind of enhance that a little bit. Let's talk about the camera bar design. I actually like it a lot. It's a great design choice to make the Pixel 6 easily recognizable, but it is a lint trap if I've ever seen one. Now, the wide-angle camera is nice, but not quite as wide as the iPhone, which is fine most of the time, but when you want to get that larger-than-life feeling from your photos, the Pixel falls a little short. But where the Pixel 6 shines over the iPhone is night mode. I mean, I've been super impressed. The computational photography for night mode is absolutely insane. It has a longer shutter, so you have to hold it still for a little bit longer, but it also does a lot of denoising and sharpening with the AI. To be honest, I think these are the best night mode photos I've ever seen out of a cell phone. Video, on the other hand, is great, but not better than the iPhone. You can shoot in 4K, but not at 24 frames a second, which is weird. You only get 30 and 60, and then you get different slow-mo options in 1080p. All in all, photos are amazing, videos are good. However, I really think you'll love the camera system of this phone. The Pixel 6 has to be the best smartphone for the money. But if you're coming from an iPhone, you should consider how much you need iMessage and other Apple exclusive features like AirDrop. Figure out your most used apps and see if they're on the Google Store, which they probably are. And also, are you gonna miss that super wide-angle camera? My guess is after you pick up the Pixel, enjoy the 90 Hz screen and learn Android 12, you'll be very happy with this phone. Proper tech score for this phone, I think I would have to give it an 8 out of 10 because it's one of my favorite smartphones I've used in the past 5 years. The customization on it is great compared to Apple. The screen is wonderful, the battery life is amazing. Sure, I do miss a couple little features like being able to react to iOS messages and get full resolution video, but that's not really the phone's fault. That's more of a way that Apple communicates with Android phones. If you're looking for a smart, fast phone that has a reasonable price tag, an amazing camera, and great battery life, then this one's for you.